We have today Ken Zurcher, who is speaking to us from Sarajevo. He is a Foreign Service officer. He is the Deputy Political Consul at the U.S. Embassy there. Before this, he has served at the U.S. Embassy in Athens, at the Consulate General in Vladivostok in Russia, and then also in the U.S. Embassy in Moscow. And before that, he, as a captain in the U.S. Army Reserve, he served in Bosnia from 97 to 98. He's, aside from all of these things, a KU alum. He has a degree, his master's degree in Russian and East European and Eurasian studies, as well as his undergraduate in political science from here at KU. We've got a little bit of a technical issue in that there's a bit of a delay, but given that he's speaking so far away, it's okay. Go ahead, Ken.
Hey, thanks so much. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm trying to do this now with headphones, and hopefully that gets out some of the buzz that you had earlier.
I think we're all right.
So thank you everybody and thank you Bart for hosting me. I appreciate the opportunity, and yes, this was great. As Bart mentioned, I served here in 97 and 98, and learned about the State Department while I was deployed, and came back, and actually it was great to Lawrence to talk about ideas to study Russian and pursue a career in the State Department. And very shortly thereafter, I think the next week actually, I started. And when I finished the week of graduation, I also passed the oral exam to begin the State Department career. So if that's of interest to folks, I'll also be happy to answer questions about the State Department later. But so today, I'm talking about what's going on in Bosnia and Herzegovina in 2016. And we are in a different climate than we have been in the past. And specifically, we are looking at post-BREXIT, how that affects the situation here, as well as the upcoming elections and other events here, to include a possible referendum in the how much everybody knows about the state of Bosnia and Herzegovina right now. So I'll begin with a little bit of background. That the country, if you compare it to the immediate post-war period, the period I was at before, has actually grown considerably in a positive direction. Unfortunately, what we do is we look at it in two different periods: the first 10 years after Dayton and the second 10 years after Dayton. In the first 10 years, we had a very heavy hand by the international community. We have the Office of the High Representative, and the High Rep has bond powers and the ability to enact laws, change things, remove people from office as necessary to maintain stability and progress in accordance with the Dayton Peace Accords. In those first 10 years, we saw a lot, everything from seemingly symbolic things, but such as creating a new monetary system that was shared across the country, changing the license plates so they're unified across the country, increasing freedom of movement and security, to eventually what was one of the biggest positive events about 10 years ago, and that is the merging of the militaries into one unified military. Right now, the Armed Forces of Bosnia and Herzegovina and the Ministry of Defense stand as one of the strongest institutions within the government, and a lot of that comes to the work it took to get them unified 10 years ago. In the last 10 years, however, that has changed. Our approach to the country shifted in terms of less of a heavy hand. Some of that has to do with what else was going on around the world at the time, but also in that the country had graduated from that first stage and were set to take a lot of these difficult steps on their own. We, as one of our top priorities here, is to pursue Bosnia and Herzegovina's path towards Euro-Atlantic integration, which is the European Union and NATO, first and foremost. And to do that, it's less important for them to be members of those than to them have the ability to meet those requirements and have the interest in being part of those two communities. And that's really quite hard to do if the international community does so much of the leadership. Unfortunately, what you have here now is you have the three constituent peoples, Bosniaks, Croats, and Serbs, that have, many of the leaders have completely opposite views of what future they see for the country. And to summarize it, it's as long as there is somewhat of a chance that a differing view is possible, they have very little reason to put full faith into a system if they might be able to get more through different negotiations. Leaders of the three ethnic groups, and there's also the Astali, the others, but leaders of the main three constituent peoples are shrewd negotiators. They've been at this for a long time. Many of them have been the same for 10, if not 20 years. They've seen what the international community can throw at them, and they have matured through it to become very good at what they do. Our influences as the United States remains quite strong here. A lot of the folks who even disagree with us still have a positive impression for our involvement in helping end the war. But we're never going to argue for this country to be the 51st state. It needs to be a part of Europe. And so part of that means them finding a way to meet the requirements and make those changes, even as the European Union is changing. And so where are we at? We're in a system where you have one country, two entities plus the Brownbag district, have three presidents, but because the federation, one of the two entities, has 10 cantons, you have 10 additional prime ministers, council of ministers, parliamentary systems. That means if you want to deal with the system of education, you have 13 ministers of education. And so everything becomes quite complex. Things that we put in as protection mechanisms 20 years ago now create very, very easy and natural systems of destruction. And so while you try to move them forward on things that are actually better for the country, you're still fighting the same political problems you have in every country. It's a matter of making sure that everybody trusts each other enough and agrees with where you're trying to go, that they take that big step together. So this past June, obviously, with the announcement of BREXIT, two of our strongest partners in this country have been the UK and Germany. And they've led most of the discussions, or a lot of the stronger discussions, on the IHS path towards the European Union. And in doing so, with one of those two deciding to potentially leave the European Union, it has changed how we engage. The United Kingdom remains a curious country and will do so. They've also invested much time, resources, and energy, and at many of the same meetings that we're having, they are most focused on the things that we're trying to help this country accomplish. But at the same time, as you look across Europe and you hear calls for referenda on a wide range of things, you now have additional movements within this country for referenda. And on one hand, there's the threat of the potential for eventual referendum for secession, the Serbs. The discussion has changed. Years ago here, you couldn't even say the word referendum. You could not hint that you were discussing the possibility of a different Bosnia-Herzegovina than what the big piece of was allowed. Now that has been muddied because you have discussion of different referenda that just simply challenge state structures. Last year it was challenging of the judiciary. That referendum eventually got shut off. Right now we're facing the potential for September 25th, a referendum within the Republic of Srpska on holiday. For somebody who's not paying attention, it just seems relatively complex. But the issue is not a holiday. The issue is that it's in challenge of constitutional court saying that there's a problem with that law that's established. But you have several senior politicians who go out of their way to very explicitly say that this is the first step, that their intentions are to eventually challenge the makeup of the country and secede. And so our struggle here is, how can you take a step together to still move beyond the battle scars from 20 years ago, 21 years ago, while they're still pursuing different possibilities for this country. And we also look at this in the scope of the broader European context. You have issues of migration, you have issues of violent extremism, you have simply security and stability of the region. That's what would happen to this region as countries decide to revert to. Sorry, there's an echo here, so it's not very well. When you face the potential for the countries to challenge its makeup and how it's going to proceed. At the same time that we're fighting these demons, we're also working with them to try to fix or help them fix day-to-day issues that the country is still trying to mature through 20 years after the war. Again, addressing an education system that is very segregated, a public sector and a private sector. The public sector here uses 70% of the budget, which is stifling. You have an economy in which Post figures estimates roughly 30% unemployment, but then if you look at college-age student unemployment, it's over 60%, one of the highest in the world. The average family lives between $7 and $8 a month. And these are conditions that, if you go to those countries, you're going to see more rampant crime that we see here. You're going to see a status of living that is very unsustainable. Where that fits into the violent extremism context is, I would say in the United States, those conditions lead people to choose if you want to join the gang or you want to join the military. And so you have a disaffected youth. Their options are, if you have the ability to leave the country for elsewhere, then you have no choosing to do so. And if you want to stay, you're trying to redefine your personality amidst the rhetoric. That is the only thing you know. When I was here 19 years ago, my generation was fighting. At the time, they were done with fighting. They were ready to move beyond and try to make life as well. The kids entering college right now are kids born of the war. They don't have the ties their parents had to the different communities. They only know the sharp rhetoric. Again, much like the rest of the country, including our own, is spread very quickly through social media and through the internet. And that's the big part. They've grown up knowing otherness. You have people who live in the same town as there's other ethnicities who they've never met. They don't talk to each other, they don't know each other. And that's not a very stabilizing effect here. Even as we have these discussions, you have moves from different communities. Rather than trying to fight through a system, you have a school that's overcrowded, they simply reform a second school and peel away one of the two ethnicities that happen to be in that region, further dividing the communities. And so these are all things that we try to challenge here, and trying to take a longer view of what hopefully can get this country through a difficult time. Rather than looking for immediate satisfaction currently. With that, maybe it's easier if I just stop and turn. I'm happy to answer any questions.